all the unique characters.
I do let him bang. Yeah, I'm a legend, man. I'm building my legacy.
All the stories and perspectives featured weekly.
I wasn't fully committed to that choke, and I kind of sunk into it, started squeezing tighter, and I kind of heard him gurgle a little bit. I was like, oh.
And all the combat sports you could ask for in the best state in the U.S.
Like I said, Ohio versus the world. It's going to happen for sure. Watch out.
It'll be cool, man. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to show them why the Ohio MMA scene is, in my opinion, one of the best MMA scenes in the country.
This is Forged in OH.
I-O.
OH.
I-O.
OH.
I-O.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 78 of Forged in Ohio. My name is Jake Murren, and I'm the host of the podcast. As always, I appreciate all of your support for the show. Before we get to today's guest, I want to remind you to download episodes if you're listening to them, or if you're watching on the Forged in Ohio YouTube channel, then leave the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Now, for the reason you're all here, joining me today is a 3-1 amateur mixed martial artist. He's on a 3-fight winning streak since losing his debut, and now he has an exciting title fight booked next. Fighting out of Ashtabula Grappling Club, it's JT Isenberg. Thanks for coming on the show, JT, and welcome to Forged in Ohio. It's an honor to have you on Forged in Ohio. I appreciate you reaching out. Before we get to your next fight that I just alluded to, I want to get to know you and your story a little bit. How did you first get into this combat sports world?
I've done just about every sport you can think of growing up. And then I wrestled for a couple years. And then after high school, me and my buddies did like backyard, events. Just fun, nothing serious. And I started getting kind of good at it without like any proper training. And I wanted to further my training and actually do it for real. So I did probably a year of, self-training with buddies that, have trained or fought. So like nothing from a real gym or a real coach. And one day I just kind of talked my way into my amateur debut, and that's where I'm at now. So it's nothing crazy, I would say. I just kind of did the first one to have fun and to try it, and not really any experience at all. I don't recommend lying to the matchmaker about your experience level. No, I never did any real jiu-jitsu. I did do, boxing, like a boxing gym here and there. And then I found out my first opponent was, jiu-jitsu savvy. So I joined a jiu-jitsu gym just for that fight. And then I fell in love with jiu-jitsu. So I continued. My home gym is a jiu-jitsu gym that just opened, gearing more towards MMA. And so that got me to the first one. And I took that loss on the first one, and I thought, I did it. I tried it. It was fun, cool experience. And then I kind of sat on the loss, and I decided, I don't want to end it that way. I want to keep going. So then that's when I started training serious. I cross-trained with, all kinds of people. And then I started doing more competition training. Jiu-jitsu tournaments, and then I got my second fight. And then for my second fight, it's a kind of a long story. So we all trained, the current owners of the gym I'm at now, we all trained together at a different gym. And then after my first fight, things kind of weren't working out, so I left, and then I realized everybody else left too, and they didn't start their own gym yet. So I was training in a wrestling room with me and a couple buddies, just sparring. Like that was our training. And we'd meet in the wrestling room and spar. And I did that for 10 weeks. And then I got to my second fight, and I won that one. And from there, the current owners of the gym I'm at now opened their gym, and I've been training with them ever since they opened. And they trained me all the way up to my third fight, which I took my third fight on a 28-day notice. I also moved up 2 weight classes. So let me backtrack a little bit. After my second fight, I realized after that weight cut to 135, I was weak, real skinny, didn't have any muscle, and I just felt drained. So I took a year off after that first win, and I did nothing but work out, strength and conditioning. I still trained, jiu-jitsu and whatever striking I had going on, but I dedicated most of my time to bulking up. And then I touched 175, and I was like, that's probably as high as I want to go. And then, naturally you cut. So just cutting your calorie, getting your calorie deficit, eating right. I got down to 165, and I was like, all right, 155 is probably the weight class for me. And then that's when I took my third fight, and I took that. That was my 155-pound debut. And it felt great. The cut was great. The rehydration was great. Probably the best I've ever done. And it was actually, at the time he was 0-0. He was making his debut, but Will Moriarty, he's a talented young man, and I don't think that was an easy fight at all. And I got it done in the first round. So I was excited about that one. And then I talked to the matchmaker, and I told her I wanted to kind of step up the competition. And I wanted a contender fight for Bizzaro's. And my original opponent got injured 5 days before the fight. And then my buddy Tony took the fight last minute, went up a couple weight classes. And that was probably my toughest fight, my most fun fight, and my toughest fight. Mostly because he pieced me up 2 years ago sparring. He pieced me up pretty bad. I held my own on the ground, just by having probably a little bit more experience with wrestling and jiu-jitsu. But on the feet, he pieced me up. I'll never deny it. We went 3 rounds. I think he dropped me 2 body shots, twice with the body shot, and then after that, it's like, that's crazy. This is that's when like there's actual levels to this. At the time, that was right after my first fight. I went out there and cross-trained with them, and still really low experience, and just not knowing the levels in the game. And so thinking about that leading up on that fight week of like, man, he pieced me up, and he's had multiple fights since against, some of the best, 135ers around. He fought 3 rounds, Josh Pereira, and lost the decision. But Josh Pereira's a pro now, and he's on a tear. He lost to a couple other guys that are now pro, and he himself is now an undefeated pro. So, not taking anything away from him, he's super talented. And going into that fight, that was probably the most nervous I've been. Just, having that in the back of my mind, like that he did, piece me up sparring. And that also is what made that fight so fun, is because I had opportunities where I probably could have hunted for the sub, and I chose not to. I wanted to go past the first round. That was the first fight I've had that went past the first round as well. So once the first round ended, I was like, I think we're going to go the distance. And then came out, had a strong second round, and then we were both kind of tired in the third round, but I think I did plenty to take that round as well. And I got the nod on that one. And I knew after that one I was going to have the title fight. So, I got 3 kids and a wife. So leading, getting ready to go into a camp for a title fight, I needed to take a little time off, make sure, my bills are caught up, everything was situated. I trained. I have a pretty busy schedule. But then I took a couple months off, and then I finally got the fight offer, and I've already been training and in condition, and now I'm gearing in. I'm in fight camp right now and dialing everything up.
Man, there's a lot there, and I kind of want to go back to, your origin story of how this entire journey started for you. You mentioned backyard fighting. What exactly are we talking about when you were growing up in the backyard doing whatever it was you were doing?
It's basically just a group. Everybody was older than me, and they've all kind of already established their little, events. But I showed up one day, just, awesome, buddy. But I showed up the one day to watch my one buddy. He was like, "Hey, I'm fighting," and I was like, "All right, cool." So I went there to watch, and I got thrown in the mix. And it was pretty fun. So basically, it's just a group of guys, and they put, close-sized people together and paired them up, and then it was full-on UFC rules. And it's the first time I've ever seen anybody get actually knocked out cold too. It was just a nice 1-2, and he went out, and he was kind of pulsating. I was like, wow, this is crazy, and that's kind of what drew me in. I'm like, the adrenaline and your heart racing, and it was fun.
Would you say that's the moment where you first realized that you wanted to fight in MMA, whether it was, watching that event when you're younger and then building that confidence over time with your skills at the gym?
Yeah, definitely. Just growing up, everybody gets into street fights, and I feel like I got into more fights than most people, at least my age and in my area. And then wrestling, and then doing the backyard events. After doing the backyard events, that's when I was like, yeah, I'm gonna put it all together and try to really do it. At least put the real effort into trying it, and the real actually really doing it.
You represent Ashtabula Grappling Club. You're the first fighter to join me from the gym. Can you give me some insight on what it's like there at the gym and what it's done for you so far?
Everybody here is really great. We have 5, I think, between all the owners. They all kind of teamed up together. There's 5 of them, and we started out as just a jiu-jitsu only gym. And since they opened, I've had 2 fights, and me training for fights here have gotten other people interested. So now, I don't want to say they are catering to me, but they definitely expanded for me and for my benefit. I don't think I could ever actually thank them enough. They heavy bags, brand new, 3 or 4 at a time, all the striking gear you can think of, pads, Muay Thai pads, mitts, gloves. They've invested a lot of money into kind of transferring, into the MMA aspect, and now we have quite a few people, involved. And we got two other people fighting on the same card as me. One's making their debut at 205, and then the other one's my buddy Ty. He's making his 3rd appearance at super heavyweight. So now we're actually putting together a team here, and it's kind of exciting, watching something grow from a small room with puzzle mats to, a full room, matching mats, painted walls, painted ceilings, basically top of the line everything. Over the past 2 years they've been open. Just watching them grow as a gym has been, exciting and an honor to be a part of. But I also don't just train here. I usually in fight camps I train with Cheeto Train out of Power Martial Arts with Nathan Velasquez, Dusty Schaefer, Brandon Hall, all them guys out there. And that's where I really get my striking done. And I couldn't really ask for, a better group of strikers to be with. I left out Vito Morgan. He's a dog too out there. Just, between grappling here and doing, MMA here and striking out there, I feel like I've been given all the tools I need to, take this as far as I can, really.
Yeah, is that the real benefit that you've noticed from, cross-training, just blending those different disciplines and skill sets together as you get, like you said, you're grappling and jiu-jitsu from there, and then you're striking from somewhere else?
Absolutely. I think if you stay in the same place, you get comfortable, and if you get comfortable, you don't advance. You kind of get stuck in one spot. If I grapple the same 5 people for a year, I'm not gonna get any better. So, I like to grapple with, Go, buddy. Sorry, my kids are trying to be a part of it. No, I think cross training is very important, especially if you're trying to put together all the tools. Even just cross training with grappling, I can only grapple so many people here, and then I go somewhere else, I grapple with them, and you're like, all right, these guys train a little bit different, some of these guys train a little bit harder, and then you really get to you get the looks. You can tell the different levels in different gyms, and I think that also helps you grow as a martial artist, especially with striking, because I do come from a grappling dominant gym. If I didn't cross train with Cheeto and get striking in with him, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at right now. He's a really good coach, and he knows what's right for you and for your style, and he helps me out tremendously.
How far do you think you've come since those early days of, those backyard fights to wanting to actually do this for real with training at both gyms, and how your skills have really evolved since then?
I feel like I've come pretty far. Doing the backyard stuff, it's no real training. You're kind of just out there winging it. You watch something on UFC and you're trying it in like a backyard fight scenario, and you're just learning. No coaches, no nothing. And then you go to real gym. You get real looks from real other real combat athletes, and over the time I've grown tremendously. I think I've grown more in my last 2 fights than I have in all the years combined, just with taking it serious. You lose a fight, oh well, you win a fight, oh well, and then you move forward and you take on a 3rd fight and you're like, well, the competition's only going to get harder. You need to train harder. You need to take it more serious. I think I've grown more in my last 2 fights than I have in all the years combined.
Talking with JT Isenberg here on Forged in Ohio. Let's dive into some of your amateur fights. You debuted in 2021 against Logan Fink. It's the only loss on your record, and you've talked about that fight a lot on social media. What do you think about when you look back at the amateur debut?
I honestly feel like with my lack of training, I did well against somebody that was already established in jiu-jitsu. If you go way back and look, it's only a 1-round fight, but on the feet, I was doing fairly well. I don't think I was really touched. I might have got hit once. Sloppy too. It was, both of our first fights, we weren't, where we are now. So, I felt unexperienced, sloppy, but I seen potential, looking back at it. I feel like if I would have actually had a coach and trained with a real gym, I feel like I could have won that fight too.
And you mentioned, I believe, having to lie to matchmakers to actually get that fight. What was that whole story about?
Yeah, it's actually when I decided, like, I'm going to do this, and I had no idea how to do it. So I was actually messaging, like, promotions on Instagram, like, hey, I want an amateur debut fight. What do I have to do? And I think the first place I ever messaged was Ohio Combat League, and they were like, oh, yeah, we're looking for a 155er. And I was like, oh, I weigh 155. And then it turns out that it was actually Max Metzger. So I'm super glad that they didn't allow me to have that fight. I'm sure that they brought it to the matchmaker's attention, and she was probably like, yeah, right. And then I messaged Bizzaro's, and they put me in contact with Nicole. And you have to have experience. If you're an independent fighter, you still have to have experience. I don't know if it's 4 months or 6 months at a gym, or I can't remember exactly what it was, but I basically just used my couple years as a wrestling background, and then said I was training at a boxing gym or something along the lines of that. Looking back, I'm glad I did it, because it did get me in there and it got me to where I'm at now. But I also wish I would have trained to begin with, like really trained with a real gym. But can't change the past. Just learn from it. I did learn a great lesson. I learned what the sport was really about. It was all respect between me and Logan, and it was fun for both of us. And it's just an amateur record, so the loss really doesn't mean nothing. But I'm glad I lost, to be honest, because you lose, it makes you want to get back in there and train harder, push harder, and come back and try to get your win. So I'm glad everything happened the way it did.
Yeah, you don't hear that often of fighters saying that they're glad that they lost. And being that it was your amateur debut, I could see other fighters maybe being discouraged by that and never wanting to compete again. Was the success, I guess, that you were talking about that you found in that first round on the feet, and maybe the glimpse of hope for a better future in future fights, what kept you going and made you want to come back better and stronger?
Definitely. Yeah, because I remember, like, right after the fight, you're like piecing together little clips, and you're like, all right, that was cool. I landed that. I can't believe I threw a spin kick. And then I do remember I threw a spin kick, and then he threw a hook, and I slipped it, and I was backpedaling, and he kind of ran me down, and then I stepped right into him and landed a right. And you can see, if you watch the video, he kind of buckled a little bit, but then he went right into a body lock and out grappled me, took me down, and definitely out experienced me in jiu-jitsu, and he got the job done. It was his night, and we still talk to this day. He's a good guy.
How much have you changed, not only as a fighter, but as a person as well, since you made that amateur MMA debut?
I think my discipline and I kind of put more pressure on myself to actually take it as far as I can go, and to train as hard as I can, and to get as many rounds in as I can.
On social media, you kind of talk about that being the old version of yourself, and now this is the new version of yourself. Do you think about that old version often, or maybe how far you've developed in the last 3 or so years as, both a person and as a fighter?
No, I don't really look back. I don't like to dwell in the past. I definitely, when I did look back, I seen some things I liked, I seen some things I didn't like, and I decided to not look back and keep moving forward. I definitely think that my work ethic is probably my greatest trait that I have. I work full time. Uh, so I get up early in the morning. I work out 4:30 in the morning. Then I eat. Then I get the kids up. I get the kids ready for school and daycare. I take them to school. I drive all the way to work. I work a full day in construction, a pretty, hard job. Uh, and then I leave work, come home, take a shower, go to the gym, train, come home, get the kids dinner, get them ready for bed, and then I lay them down and I work out a second time. And then after that, I kind of have a little me time right before bed. And I do that every day. 2 workouts. I run a 5K at least 5 to 6 days a week on top of that. Plus, I'm getting 4 days in here, a day or two with Cheeto. So I think as I have progressed, my work ethic also has progressed, and I'm a pretty busy person, and I do take it serious.
Yeah, that schedule can sound daunting to other people. Is it hard to stay motivated and stay on that grind that is your life?
No, it's really not. Some days, I'm tired. I'm like, oh, I really don't want to go. I'd rather just lay down, hang out with the kids. But I definitely like it. I like being that busy. That is actually what keeps me motivated. I know I'm not skipping a workout. Nope, I got to hit a workout. I got to go to the gym. I got to get rounds in, or I'm going to fall behind. I welcome the pressure. I welcome the tight schedule. I think that is, I think that's what led me to be where I am now.
Does that give you confidence too when it comes time to actually fight, knowing that you are on that grind and you're doing your best day in and day out to get in those training sessions and become the best version of yourself leading into fight night?
I think so. I think I don't think other. I mean, I don't want to say all amateurs, all other amateurs, but I think my work ethic separates me from most other amateurs, and it does give me that confidence. And I'm a very humble person. I'm not even really a people person. That's why I'm so nervous doing this. But I definitely think that's what gives me the confidence and gives me an edge. Because I do. I know I did all the work I possibly can. I can't. I can't. If I lose, I can't blame it on, I just didn't train. I did and I do, and there's no excuses. If I ever lose a fight, there's no excuse. I did all the training. It just wouldn't have been my night. But it also does give me that confidence to where when I am in the back, I'm like, all right, I did everything I can. Now I just got to go out there and show it.
You mentioned the lifestyle and having 3 kids. What do the kids think of what you do and chasing this MMA dream that you're going after?
I think it has a good impact on them. They see that I am working hard at a goal. My son, he wrestles, he does jiu-jitsu, he does baseball, soccer, just about every sport you can think of. My daughter does competitive dance and cheerleading, and I think them seeing me train and work towards my goals gives them an idea of, hey, if I want to be good at this, maybe I have to train like dad. So I think that also motivates me too to go harder, to be a good influence on them. And no, I don't expect them to want to fight or anything like that, but I do think it helps them stay motivated to achieve their own personal goals.
Do they fully understand what it is that you do in terms of the cage fighting aspect of what truly MMA is?
Yeah, they watch any UFC or One Champion Fight Night, anything that's on TV, and we get a couple people over to watch it. They're there watching. They come to my weigh-ins. They like to step on the scales. They like to get their weigh-in and their weigh-in photo. They definitely like being a part of it, and they understand what it is. I'm not sure if they understand that it's just competition. but they're only 7-3. So, but I do think they understand the sport.
If they showed interest themselves in getting into combat sports and following in your footsteps, would you be open to something like that?
I'm all for it. My older daughter, she likes to hit the mitts. I teach her the 1-2 slip 2. That's her favorite. And then you got to watch out for my son, because he'll come flying across the living room and throw a calf kick, and then he'll laugh and run away. So I definitely not pushing. I would never push it on them, but if they said, hey, I want to do that, then I'm all for it. I'll support whatever they want to do.
Since the amateur debut, you've won 3 straight fights, including 2 via first-round submission. That old version of you that we just talked about from that debut, would that guy have been able to rattle off 3 wins in a row like this new version of you has?
I don't think so. Guy would have, been out of shape and not trained properly, and he probably would have lost a couple more. So definitely, I don't think he would have.
Last question about this new version of you, I swear, but do you think that the hard work you put in to become the person I'm talking to you now, like, has paid off? Like, you're finally starting to enjoy the benefits of that hard work, and the results in these fights are showing that?
In the moment, I enjoy them, but I also look at them as like an old baseball trophy. You put it on the shelf and it sits there. I don't, I don't get big-headed about it. I don't sit on a win. I'm right back in training. I won my last fight, and it was a good fight. It was a war. I had a lot of fun with it, but I went back, I watched it, and I'm like, that was really sloppy. I should have, instead of, I stunned him with an uppercut in the second round, and I knew it. And in the fight, I'm like, going for blood. I'm trying to finish it, and looking back at the tape, I'm like, man, that was really sloppy. That was sloppy. You ate too many knees. The clinch leg kicks were, a good aspect. Your pressure was good, but you dropped your guard. You were kind of throwing wild. I'm hard on myself, so I can pick out all kinds of things I did wrong. I don't ever sit on a win. I enjoy it for the day, the night, and maybe the next day. But I'm right back at the gym. Always.
With that last fight, you mentioned how you were buddies with your opponent. Is that aspect of the fight a challenge in and of itself?
Definitely. We like I said, we cross-trained before, and after that we were friends. I supported all his fights. I've gone and watched his fights. I bought pay-per-views to watch his fights if I couldn't make it. And then leading up, he took the fight, and I was like, all right, if it's going to be with anybody, I'm glad it's you. It was tough. It was because you never really think, like, you spar with your buddies, but you never really think, like, all right, I got to go out there and beat them, like, in front of people. And kind of getting over that was a hurdle in its own. But in the moment, all of that kind of went away, and I knew we were just there to put on a show, and there was no hard feelings, and we're still friends.
With the 3-fight win streak, do you have a performance that you're maybe most proud of, or where you walked away the happiest from?
I'm proud of my my debut at 155 against Will Moriarty. I got that done in under a minute, and there was West Virginia rules, so there was head kicks allowed, and I came out, I feinted a jab, threw the front kick. Hey, congratulations on the blue belt. I just feinted the jab, threw the front kick. He just slipped out of the way, and then he fired a head kick on his own. I seen it coming, I blocked it, and then I thought he was gonna go low, and he threw another head kick, and that one was close. I just got my hand up, just in time to block it. And then he threw a leg kick, and I was like, all right, he's going to throw a leg kick. And as soon as he throws a leg kick, I'm bombing this straight right. And that's exactly what I did. And then we got into a clinch, and I tried to hip toss him, and he slid behind me, and he actually took me down. And I heard my coach. He was like, just get up. And I picked him up in a fireman's carry, stood up, and then dumped him and took his back. And then he walked over to his corner, and I was trying to fight the arm in, and I let go with the left, and I didn't hit him hard, but I let him know that I was attempting to punch him, and I sunk the arm in, and I felt in 100% control in that fight, and I think that's why I'm proud of that one. But I think my favorite one was my last fight. To go 3 rounds, to actually go through a war, and to really test myself. I feel like anybody can go out and maybe catch a submission by luck in the first round, or just happen to be in the right spot at the right time. But when you go through a war like that, you have to push yourself, beyond what you think you're capable of. And I think that's why that's my favorite fight.
Your next fight was announced recently, and it's a big one. On August 3rd, you're fighting Devon Watkins for the Bizzaro Promotions Lightweight Amateur Championship. How excited are you to compete for an amateur MMA title?
It's exciting. But I definitely am, the belt itself is not on my mind. I got a tough opponent in front of me, and, I'm getting ready for that. I'm not getting ready for the title. I'm getting ready for Devon Watkins.
Were you familiar with your opponent, Devon Watkins, when you were offered the fight? And if so, what do you think of this 20-year-old lightweight prospect?
I was familiar. Please move, buddy. I was familiar with him. I'd seen some of his knockout highlights, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. And then Nicole messaged me and said, August 3rd, Bizzaro title, Devon Watkins. And I said, let's get it. So I took the fight without hesitation. I knew it's a title fight. You're never going to get handed an easy fight. And, I don't really, like I said, I don't really pay too much mind to the title because I don't want to be distracted. But I think a win over, I think he's ranked 13 pound for pound amateur in Ohio. I think a win over him would really elevate me. But it's not going to be an easy task. So I'm training hard, and I'm going to get ready for it. And I'm okay with whatever the outcome is on a good show, and show what I'm capable of.
Watkins is 5-3, and you mentioned some of those highlight knockouts that he has on his record. Have you been impressed with what he's done so far?
Yeah, I've been impressed. It takes skill to go out there and actually accomplish, knockouts like that. I have noticed a couple of them. It's, his opponents rushing in with their hands down, and I've picked out a lot of different things. I'm not necessarily going to go into detail about it, but I have picked out a lot of things that, I'm like, all right, I can do this from here. I can do that. I do think, on his end, it is a great accomplishment, great achievements, and I'm not taking nothing away from him. I think he's talented.
Is it safe to say like he's the type of opponent that motivates and excites you leading up to a fight?
Yeah, I don't think I've been so excited for a fight. I know it's a tough task, so that's exciting to me. That makes me want to train harder. That makes me want to, lay it all on the line.
What can fans expect to see out of you on August 3rd?
I think we're both going to go in there, and I think we're both going to stand up and bang. And, the strongest man's going to come out.
I love to hear it. Is there any doubt in your mind that you'll be walking away from the fight with that Bizzaro Promotions Lightweight title strapped around your waist?
I I would be excited if it did, but I'm not gonna predict anything. I'm gonna train hard. I'm gonna get ready for it, and I'm gonna give it my all. And hopefully I do come away with the win. But like I said, I wouldn't be discouraged either way.
It's going to be an exciting fight. I know I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure a lot of Ohio MMA fans tuning in are excited for it as well. Before we wrap up, JT, just anything you want to shout out here at the back end of the show?
Yeah, I want to shout out my team, Asheville Grappling Club. I want to shout out all my dudes at Powers, the Cheeto Trained. And I want to shout out my sponsors, the CBD department, Young's, Cedar Log Homes, Erie Shores Auto, and Blair Construction out of Edmonton, PA.
All right, there you have it. Thanks again, JT, for coming on the show. I appreciate you reaching out and truly making this happen. Before I get you out of here, I like to do the OHIO chant with all the guests that join me on the show. So, OHIO. Thanks, JT. Good luck on August 3rd against Devon Watkins. I can't wait for the fight, and we'll talk again soon, man.
All right, thanks.
That was JT Isenberg, the 3-1 amateur fighter who is competing on August 3rd for the Bizzaro Promotions Lightweight title. And what an opponent he has in front of him, too, in Devon Watkins. It's going to be an incredible showdown of two Forged in Ohio guests. I wish them both the best, and I'm grateful that JT was able to join me prior to this exciting championship fight. I mentioned it at the top, but again, you might be watching on YouTube without realizing that you aren't subscribed. So click that button along with the like button on the video, both of which are completely free to you. And if you're on the audio side, downloading episodes helps me out more than you know. You can also find the show on social media at Forged in Ohio on both Instagram and Facebook. Thank you all for watching or tuning in to another episode. I've been your host, Jake Murren, and this was Forged in Ohio.